Did that idea come like right away, or was it something you thought about on how to make it unconventional and stand out?
It was because my mind was constantly, the wheels in my mind were constantly turning, trying to think of like, okay, what's something really cool that I could do? I love doing portraiture. So it's like, who's like an icon that I could create in an unconventional way, but I want whatever that medium is to somehow correlate with the person that I'm creating.
Yeah.
So I wanted it to make sense in that regard. So I was in just I'm trying to think back now. So this is a horrible example, but for example, like I did a portrait of my dog at one point and I used dog food. This sounds
I saw that. I love it. Yeah.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, I love it. I saw it. Yeah. It was amazing.
It's cute. It's really cute. And it wasn't wet dog food, because that's really gross, but it was like kibble. It was kibble, but creating my dog portrait out of kibble. Yeah. So that's kind of what I mean about having the medium correlate with the subject.
Yeah. Well, I'm asking about that because I teach a creativity course, and one of the tips that we give people is to combine two things that don't normally go together. So now that you put them together, it makes total sense. But prior to that, it wasn't something that went together, makeup and a canvas, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's not traditional to put that medium to that medium, right? And so, and that's exactly it. And so that's what planted the seed with lipstick. And so we posted it to YouTube, and it actually did get a really good response. Yeah. It didn't go viral, but actually, I don't know. At this point, I think it's had maybe like 1 million views or something like that. But that's been like a slow and steady progression over the course of the past handful of years. It's not like it happened overnight. But even still, it was something that people got excited about. And it was, Josh, my husband, he said to me, he's like, Lex, I feel like this is like your golden nugget. I think you need to really harness this because nobody else is doing this. And because you put your actual kisses in the piece, there's such a wow factor there. And there's a story there. And like, what's the symbolism behind the kiss print? And then that really got me thinking like, well, it's not just about creating a portrait of somebody and, out of an unconventional medium. It's how can I tie a story to it? And so that's when I started to reel in the idea of, beauty and love and self-love and like, what does the kiss print symbolize? What does that mean to people? And so it was an evolution of, what does lipstick mean and what does the kiss print mean and how can I tie that into the subjects that I choose to paint? So it's been quite an evolving process to say the least.
What does it like to even paint with the lipstick and work with the lipstick as a medium, I guess?
Well, it's, when I started, I was only using red. So I never even thought to see what other colors under the sun there was. Mm-hmm. So I was only using red, and I was primarily using my kisses. And so it was, for anyone that hasn't seen my artwork, if you scroll like way to the bottom of my Instagram feed, you'll see some of my first pieces. Yeah. And you'll see that it's just red on red. And it's very like flat and two-dimensional because you can only get so much depth perception with a flat kiss print. So in order for me to like be able to add more detail into my artwork and to add more depth and to add more shadow, I realized like, why am I like limiting myself to just kissing the canvas? First of all, it's extremely laborious to just kiss. And secondly, one reason I love making art is because I like using my hands, and I'm not using my hands. So this is a stupid rule that I'm creating for myself. And so that's when I started drawing with the lipstick, and I started using cosmetic brushes and painting with the lipstick. And that way I was able to blend colors and get more defined line and details, things like that. So I still put my kisses in all of my pieces. It's sort of my signature now, and I will adorn each piece with my actual kiss prints, but a lot of it is hand painted. But a lot of people don't realize that because now I work with a full color palette, and I've got the yellow and the blue and the green. So people just will walk by it and think it's just a painting with paint until they get up close and they see the kisses, and I explain to them, well, it's actually multicolored lipsticks.
Yeah.
So
So cool. And so what happened with the Marilyn Monroe picture? Where is that today?
So that would be, so my very first lipstick Lex investor, she actually lives in Toronto, and she was a mother at the school that my husband taught at. So my husband was also a teacher back at the time.
Okay.
And so she had found out about me and my art just through the school that he worked at. And she was a huge Marilyn Monroe fan.
Oh, awesome.
And so my husband said to her, "Oh my God, well, you got to hear about this piece that my wife just made." And so he sent her the YouTube link, and she was like, "Oh my God, I have to have it." And so she bought it. So she was my first Lipstick Lex investor. So yes.
And then there's a pizza place that bought a lot of your work, right? Or a restaurant?
Oh yeah, you're referring to the documentary that you recently or not the documentary, the little.
I saw something on Instagram. I stalk you on Instagram, so.
No, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So that was actually, so in Westmont, so it's a suburb outside of Chicago. My in-laws are good friends with the owner of this restaurant called Victorization, and my mother-in-law, she kind of helped decorate the restaurant a little bit. And so she had told Bobby, that's the name of the owner, about me and my work. And he's like, "Yes, absolutely. We need to get her art in here. This is incredible." And he said, it'd be really great if we could tie in some of, the classic Italian, the Rat Pack kind of, icon. So I did a Frank Sinatra, a Dean Martin.
My husband would love this. He's from Elmwood Park, Italian. So he would love this.
Oh yeah, for sure. You guys should go in there then. It's in downtown Westmont, just by the tracks there. And I've got, I think, 14 pieces hanging up, but there's some of my very first ones. So it's really cool to see the progression of some of my earlier works compared to these works. So
and to me, portraiture is the most difficult to do. I mean, I could draw an animal, I guess, sort of, but if I try to draw a face, like, I'm done.
Faces are, that's how I'm with hands. I'm like that with hands. It's hard for me to master hands, but I've gotten good with faces over the years. But I think one reason I was always drawn to doing faces was because of the challenge and like that feeling of like, oh yeah, got it, when it's done. But yeah, it's a difficult subject. There's no question.
And it's beautiful. And your Instagram is really fun to follow, by the way, very positive. So I encourage everybody to go follow Lipstick Lex on Instagram.